Dick Farman. During his business career, Dick Farman has held various executive positions with Pacific Enterprises and its subsidiaries, including chairman and CEO of Southern California Gas Company. In June 1998, Dick became the first chairman and CEO of Sempra Energy. Now retired, he is currently chairman emeritus of Sempra. He received both his degrees, including a law degree from Stanford. And again, I'm proud to say that Dick serves on the Marymount College Board of Trustees. Please join me in welcoming Dick to our campus, back to our campus.
I'm better standing than sitting and talking at the same time. It's a delight for me to be here and to talk about leadership. I'm sure the students who are here this evening are well into the subject of leadership and what amounts to good leadership, what the attributes are. Is it an innate skill? Is it a skill that is acquired or learned? And how do you use it in an organization? I think we all know that for an organization, leadership is critical when it comes to mission, values, strategic planning, and organizational structure. Those are big words. I boil those words down to what, how, and who. What are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And who's going to do it? And in an organization with strategic planning and organizational structure, that kind of leadership can work very, very well. But what do you do if it's beyond one organization? If you're involved in an alliance with other people from other organizations? And I'm not talking just about for-profit corporations. This could be a church. This could be a college. This could be a hospital. Could be startup companies working on high-tech solutions to new digital computers and so forth. But it has a common characteristic that these people don't work for you. You probably don't have a strategic plan. And you may not have an alliance of interests. So what do you do if you're put in a leadership position in that kind of a situation? Well, I had both the challenge and the opportunity to be in that position. When I was chairman and CEO of Southern California Gas Company, which, as you know, is a large natural gas distribution company here in Southern California, I was also the chairman of the American Gas Association, which is our national trade association in Washington, D.C. And I was very proud to be part of that organization. And we began to ask ourselves some questions. Natural gas, yes, it is a fossil fuel, but it is abundant in the United States. It is the cleanest burning of any of the fossil fuels, and it's cost effective. So that could lead you to questions on the national level, like how can we reduce the imported oil that we are so dependent on from unstable parts of the world? How can we change out coal-fired plants such as those that generate electricity for clean burning natural gas? Well, we decided the best way to answer those questions was to put together the leadership of the natural gas industry all the way up from the beginning at the upstream, the producers, all the way down to the downstream to the customers. And so we formed something called the Natural Gas Council. And we got everybody who was a major player together. And for some reason, they elected me the first president of that council. And so my job was to try to lead all of these folks. And the best analogy that I could think of for trying to do that was strings. I've got here about 4 or 5 strings, which I think represent the major groups of leaders that we had together in the Natural Gas Council. And I can put this string down and I can say, well, what's the goal? This is like another what, how, who test. Only for alliances, it's what do you want to do, how are you going to do it, and who's going to get it done. So let's make the goal that I want these strings over here. So I just take the strings, I don't know if you can see that or not, and I pull them over there. Not a problem, right? Okay, there's another kind of leadership which you've read about, which is pushing, right? You don't lead people with pulling them to a common goal, you push them. Now, you don't have to see this to know that you can't push the strings. They're just all jumbled up. And that is the first lesson that I learned in this alliance was you got to pull, you can't push, because people have their own interests. They have their own agendas. So how do you pull? It's not as easy as just pulling these strings. And some of the things that I think are the most important are, first of all, to have an alignment of interests. How do you achieve people with their own agendas being aligned? Well, you got to focus, first of all, on important things. Don't get mired down in unimportant things, because people love to talk about their own unimportant things, and it's important to be as clear about what's important as you can. And secondly, let's say you came up with 10 important issues. Well, you probably don't have a commonality of interest on all 10. Each of the parties to whatever the group is have their own ideas, their own course of actions, their own goals. So you pick the 5 of the 10 that you have a commonality of interest. And once you've done that, I found you've got to get active participation. People must be engaged. They must have buy-in, and they must participate in order to have that buy-in. So you've got to encourage active participation. And I also learned being important to be beware of the person that just sits there and takes notes and doesn't contribute. You never know what's on that person's mind, and it certainly doesn't contribute to what you're trying to achieve. But more importantly than that is to ensure that people are working together, that they know what the goal is, and they're going to participate, and they're going to do so with something that meets a certain high level or a high road of legalities and ethics. And legalities are important, as we all know. Certainly when you're running a large corporation, they're very important. But in any institution, in any alliance, be very, very specially thoughtful of the legalities of what you're talking about and how you're trying to contribute to something that's good for society. And ethics, very, very important, because they help reach that goal. But the question has always been, well, what is ethical and what is not ethical? I had the experience in mid-management of going to an advanced management program, spent days with serious case studies on what is ethical and what is not ethical. I can't remember one of them. But what I do remember is the last last day, the professor said there are 2 tests. The first test, is this something you want to tell your kids about? And the second test was, is this something you want to read about in the local newspaper on the front page? And I thought about that, and it's guided me ever since, that that's all I need to know about ethics. The rest comes from within. So with those kind of learnings from the Alliance, we were very successful in putting together a group with diverse interests, and I had the pleasure of leading that group to some real successes in Washington, D.C., and very pleased with that. And I never forgot the pulling of the string rather than the pushing, and I hope you don't either. Thank you.